Hello, everybody. My name is Margaret Pinard. Welcome to the channel. You are on Booktube. I am a historical fiction and fantasy author and an eclectic reader. And today we're doing something called Agitation August. But before I start and welcome our guest, I wanted to just say two things about yesterday's stream. One is that I forgot the word. I was too excited about my generative AI conversation with Brian, so I forgot to ask him what his word was for the bingo cards. So if you're playing that game, go back to the playlist. It will be right after Brian's show as a separate, very short live stream. And the second thing was a comment at the very end of the show where my mom was commenting, and Brian made the comment about all politicians are liars. And I said, and my mom's a politician, so careful. But I said it in such a way that I might have led you to believe that I thought my mom was a lying politician. And I just want to say, it's very hard for people who are trying to do right to be in a field that is tarred with the same brush as all the wrongdoers. So I just wanted to give a little reminder that, sometimes even lawyers, even, tax accountants, even the people we think are in the sharkiest fields can be there for good reasons. So, give people a chance for you to trust them. So that is my little tidbit from yesterday. And shout out to Mom for being one of those truth tellers. And now we'll go on with the show today. Hooray!
Hey!
So even when you change layouts, it seems to automatically want to do what it does. So sorry about that, but we're here now, and welcome to Agitation August, everyone. Hello, Elaine.
Hi!
How's it going?
Is good. It's nice and cool in the darkness.
Yes, we've got sort of different. I've still got the light coming in from through my curtains, but you've mastered the keep the area cool, which is good. I'm using this. This is soaked in cold water. We're all using our own little tips and tricks here.
I'm coming from the dragon cave.
There you go.
With my crazy cat lady, cold coffee.
Dragons and cats go together like...
Exactly. See, DJ Conway, I've got to do a video on that because I've seen the tag go around. People are like, where did this come from? I'm like,
oh, okay.
I have to share I have to share a little bit more about my reads.
So we love to do tags. We love to talk about books. But today, for Agitation August, we're talking about a specific book for a specific purpose. For Agitation August, every weekday, I'm inviting a lovely guest on, usually a booktuber, but a few author tubers in there. And we're talking about a book that shook them up and transformed how they thought about the world. So Steering by Starlight by Martha Beck is the book we're going to be talking about today, which Elaine chose and I read. So very exciting. So tell us a bit about why you chose this book.
Well, I'll just give you the highlights. And to be honest, this book, so Steering by Starlight, and I was sharing with Margaret before we came on, I used to have the dust jacket, and then I recycled my dust jackets. So beautiful butterfly on it. It's what caught my eye to purchase the book. But it goes with Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. And these two books literally saved my life. I had a back injury back in 2009. My life changed within 60 seconds, unforeseen, whole other circumstances, 5 months of, I don't go back to that time much, a lot of betrayal, backstabbing. It was just bad. Other than Cedric had come into our life, my cat, We'd adopted, brought her inside, rescued in August. The back injury happened September. The little kids were born a few weeks later in our basement. It was a whole shenanigans of stuff. I was off work for 5 months. There were boondoggles with physiotherapy. I was in a dark place. And since I was home, and I've always had lots of books. I mean, my collection started when I was probably 4 years old. I'd had Steering by Starlight, and I'm like, okay, this is supposed to be about how to get your shite together, get your life on track. I've always been interested in law of attraction, not The Secret Rhonda Byrne. Let's go bankrupt. Okay. So through that time, I needed to find something to get me back on track, to pull me out of this deep hole that I was in. So I started working through Julia Cameron's The Artist Way. I'm very much about the 12-step program. She shares about her issues and why it's a 12-week program. It was great. Got me thinking different activities. At the same time, I was reading Martha Beck. I love her style. I love the way she describes things.
She's really funny.
For everyone. She is funny.
Oh God, self-help. And you're like, but Martha Beck is funny. Like,
yep. Not crazy about her supporting Soulless Sunday, but either way, I like Martha Beck. That would be the one who decided to have the video trashing the royals while Prince Philip was dying. I mean, can you get any lower Oprah? Mm-hmm. But that aside, from Steering by Starlight, and this is just one of the journals, don't forget to be awesome today, I started it was an idea that I got from part of the book, and it's about writing a list of what's going right in your life, like putting ahead as things have already happened that you want in your life. So I decided to call it my Life is Great because that's what I needed to look at, hold on to. And when I first started this, there were just 2 entries. Life is great because I got out of bed, I got dressed. Yay me, end of the day. But as I kept doing it, I was seeing more and more things. I was starting to set goals, and then I could fill 2 pages a day of all the things that were going right that I had to be grateful for in my life. So, and then things worked out. The asshats got out of the way. I figured what the life lesson was of all this stuff going on. You've read the book, so you know what I mean about the thanks, I quit. When I figured out the connection to everything happening and all the people in that scenario and the life lesson I needed to learn, I did the thanks, I quit. And literally within weeks, it was like a domino effect. Everything started falling into place. Things were improving. The asshats got out of the way. Over time, they got their own, but that's karma and another story. And I got back to work. What's that?
That's a different book.
That's a different book. But then I got back to work. Cedric and the kids were fine. Things were good at home. Things were good at work. Life moved forward. So when I say that book and Artist Way literally saved my life, I'm not kidding. It literally pulled me out of one of the darkest. There's been more than one, but this was one of the darkest times in my life. So it was just an amazing read and validated things that I'd been reading most of my life for decades.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Great. Yeah. So, just for those who don't know the description of the book, Martha Beck, I suppose you could definitely put her in the same category as Julia Cameron. She's someone who describes herself as a life coach before there was such a thing as life coaches. And basically, she has reframed her life in a very positive manner in terms of, well, I didn't know this was why this happened looking backwards, but now I'm in the place where I want to be. And steering by starlight refers to connecting with something that feels like your life purpose, right? And so that's pretty universal to all of us. We want to feel like our lives have purpose, and this is a way to reflect and be gentle with yourself and laugh at yourself so that you can come to an understanding of what that might be and then work toward it. So I really liked this. And I really appreciate your choosing this so that I would have to read it because I had never heard of it before. So that's good. And for Agitation August, we have lots of different topics that people are bringing. So this one is about life purpose and introspection and getting sorted in odd places, I would say. But yesterday we had artificial intelligence as a debate on ethics of that. Tomorrow we have a dystopian story where Rachel is going to talk to us about how well do you know your neighbors? Later on, we've got Elaine with We Should All Be Feminists, and Pat with How We Learn to Be Brave. So more of a self-help book. So we've got a vast variety of topics just this week. So I encourage you to check out the playlist and put those on your watch list. So for this book, this, I would say, most closely relates to Pat's and all of them that I'm looking at on the calendar here, which I pointed out here, as a self-help. But for me and my life, self-help books have been a huge influence in that I will have sort of like a season of going through and really being intensely practicing some of the works, and then it'll sort of lose its potency, and then I'll drift onto something else and think, oh, I'm fine without this. And then like 5 years later, I'll be like, oh God, I need something. And I grab onto a new one. Is that how it works or has worked for you since 2009 in this, or was there something different before or after?
For me, it's a lot like that. And as I shared, I think it's video 2 of my, no, it is video 1 of my book audit, because I have 2 cubes packed of self-help books.
The video audit, the library tour, basically.
Yeah. Gotcha. And I mean, again, it didn't just start a little while ago. It started way back when. The one that really sticks out for me is the Celestine Prophecy. And it kind of spiraled from there because I'm into synchronicity, your own energy, the people around you. And there, I read a lot of different ones, but I mean, I've done The Artist's Way a couple of times, and I was actually good the first few times and went straight through the 12 weeks. This time, it is not working. I keep getting into reading and other stuff. It's not that I'm not into the material. I just can't seem to stay on track. But then again, well, it hasn't been a normal year. Let's just put it that way. And the one thing, and actually I just happen to have it here, and I've got my notes because I still need to do my video. Judith Orloff is another person I've been getting into. Positive energy. She talks about empaths. Just to be clear, no, it's not people who walk in a room and just read the room by facial expressions. We can literally feel before we even get to the door what we're walking into. And it makes it very difficult to be around people like Captain Orange, because they just feel like garbage and they don't even have to open their mouth. You can just But
did you listen to the discussion of Parable of the Sower, where the empath thing was actually a physical or a disability in Parable of the Sower? I thought that was really interesting.
And that's what Judith Orloff talks about. She's a psychiatrist. She's also an empath. So she has a lot of great tips. I did not work through this as a 10-week program. I just read the chapters and found out, wow, it's validated everything I've been doing over the last 30 plus years. So it was a great refresher. And so, yeah, I go in. See, vibes are off. Exactly, Monique. Exactly. And I mean, people who don't get it, don't get it. But people who do get it, I mean, we get described as highly sensitive. I mean, my dad, when I was growing up, you're too sensitive. You take things too personally. And I'm like, but I didn't have the words back then to go, well, no shit.
Like, what am I supposed to do with this? What do you want me to do? Like,
it's like, here I am, but the rest of you don't know what it's like when you're talking shite and I'm supposed to sit there and smile. Yeah. I mean, so it's funny considering I worked in group homes and stuff. You learn to adapt, right? You white light, you do a lot of different things. But I'm the same with, and I ended up rebuying things. And see, I planned ahead, Margaret. I knew you'd be on top of things. Way of the Peaceful Warrior, Dan Millman. Love Socrates and the way that he presents the information of learning lessons and moving through life. Love this book. Unhauled it along with several others because I thought, well, you know, I've read it a couple times. I get the message. I understand it. Then a few years ago, I'm like, I really wish I had that to read again. And there it was at the thrift store. So love my thrift store because I've had about, I think I'm 40 and counting rebuys, and some of them including the self-help books because they're just, to me, they're like guideposts. And I firmly believe you pick up a book, whatever book it is, self-help, fiction, whatever, you pick up what you need when you need it the most. And when you're ready for that, aha, damn, there's the key. There's the bit of information I needed, unless it's The Secret. Because I agree with Martha Beck. Nah.
No.
Nah. Okay, so I read it.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember if I read it or if I just watched the documentary kind of thing, but there's some really interesting concepts like metaphors. And I love speaking in metaphors because it helps me understand things that I don't have fancy academic words for. So one of them was talking about our inner lizard. And that's what Martha Beck uses to call our reptilian brain, and basically explaining the fact that we have different parts of our brain that evolved in different phases of evolution. The reptilian brain is different. And I thought it was interesting because the reptile brain makes me think of the snake in the garden and how we have the physical version and we have the psychology version. But staying on the path here, did your previous relationship with religion affect or influence how this book's approach hit? So when I read something and I get a metaphor and I go, oh, I understand. But then I also think, oh, this has a connection to religion. Like the reptile brain is trying to keep me on this path and I need to allow all the voices a hearing. Did your brain go to something, or did at any point different things from your relationship with religion or spirituality like perk up and say, oh, at different points in the book?
How much time we got? No, I can keep this short and sweet. So I was born, raised Roman Catholic. Did the communion, confirmation, got that middle name, the whole dealio.
What's your confirmation name?
I'm not telling you.
Oh, okay. I liked mine. Mine was Irish.
I liked mine, and it was after a friend's mom. It's Julie. What's yours?
Eilish. Eilish.
Nice. Yeah. See, that's cool. But I had picked, so it's Julie. So I did the whole dealio. And as a kid, and I'm not getting into all the details, let's just say God and I had some issues as I'm going, dude, like, is the phone off the hook? What the hell? So I started out young wondering, And my grandmother, bless her heart, and my aunts were all, big into every Sunday. And yes, I did go to church, and it was Hungarian Mass, not English. But we didn't go every Sunday. My dad, they had issues with him because he was divorced, which I thought was idiotic because it's probably the best choice he made. So I had that issue as well. It's like, people, the family history. What do you mean? And he's
Right.
bad because, he's protecting his
Right.
kids. So, parting of the ways. The last straw was when my grandmother said I needed to be more like this other person because she was in church every single Sunday. And we were in high school by this point. Now, normally I don't have a good filter on my mouth, but I love my grandma, and I understood that this was her faith and did it for her and others. So I did not tell her, Grandma, she's either stoned or hungover every freaking Sunday, because girl be loose and party animal.
Yeah.
But in my grandmother's eyes, she was good because she sat in that church every Sunday. That was pretty much for me the final straw. And then as I got older, I'm like, this is not working for me. And then for a number of years, I just waffled. Like there was nothing. God and I, the Roman Catholic one, had issues. We've been having wonderful exchanges in the comments on my videos. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine either, but I did behave that day. So for a long time, there was nothing. There was no spiritual foundation component type of thing. And then when I was finishing my degree, working on my degree through university, I did it correspondence. I was working at the same time. I decided for the heck of it as an elective to take a religious studies course. And it was awesome. I enjoyed it. One of the reads suggested was Starhawk's Spiral Dance, was an anniversary edition. And I'm like, wow. And again, which, yes, writer will laugh. Nope, never did the dancing, whole kind of thing. But I love the concept of nature and connecting with nature and a lot of that stuff, which is when I started getting into reading a bunch of pagan books. And I've met witches in my area for a brief period of time in my life. I went by the big W, and then I'm like, why do I need a label? Why do I need to call it anything? I live my life based with elemental concepts of earth, air, fire, water. I pay attention to nature. I honor the earth. I honor the plants. My gardening takes me forever because I bury the little worms and things. Like, I do things by hand, not big machines, oblivious. So I see if I've dug up a worm, and I wait until the spider moves with her little egg. And so, yeah, the word God has now become divinity. And to me, it's all the same. You just have different words. I don't understand people who feel a need to start war and kill other people because they have to be right. That's not what divinity, God, or any of them wanted for humanity. That's humans being humans. Did that answer your question?
It didn't relate back to the book, but that's okay. We could just
but that's where
your life instead of the book. So yeah.
But that's where it all came back, because as I was reading back, it was like, yeah, that this all makes sense. The nature. And especially at the end, because I haven't reread it yet, but when she talks about the elephants, it's about being mindful, being aware. Sorry, you know me, I babble.
Well, I don't have elephants in my notes, so I'm not sure. When you drop a reference that's like mentioned once, I may not get it because my memory is not that good. Okay, so how about we're going to get on the subject of words here. Oh, but I did want to say hello to people because I forgot. I skipped like 3 times talking to people. We've got Rachel here. I do have a poll question in the chat, which is remembering a moment when your vision of the world changed drastically. So we'll see if we get any of those. I'll star them for the end.
Nice.
Elaine was in the chat to say hi. Diane is here. Hello. Marion is here. Lovely to see you live. Yeah, when the timing works out.
Tell me the name again. Writer.
Marion.
Marion. Thank you. Because I keep saying hi, right? And I'm like, I need to find her name.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mojo says, I don't get agitated. I no longer hear from family since they feel I shouldn't have left the U.S. Yeah, so we've got people who have made choices and are fine living with the consequences of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. I don't talk to family either.
Rachel said, I want to go back to the artist's way at the moment and looking into the warrior goddess way. Very interesting. Oh, cool. Okay.
Curious who that author is.
Yeah, the warrior goddess way. If you want to let us know, Rach. Marion says, what if your life purpose is to find your life purpose and then you're done?
But you're not, because then you know what your life purpose is and you go forward with it.
Yeah, it's sort of a ropes course. You just keep going from one to the next.
Yep.
If any of these books catch your fancy, I have a playlist of all my crowdsourced guests' favorites on Bookshop, so you can support a non-monopoly just as an option. Eva came in, only forgot for 15 minutes. Yes, lovely. Let's see. I don't know if this is the answer to the poll question. I think it was in response to the chat. So weird vibe answers. Backing into the bush like Homer. Yeah. Dan says, I get that too sensitive comment thrown at me now, even as an adult. Yeah. And if you're in that crowd, Leslie and I are as well. And we talked about another book last Thursday about sensitive folks. So that might be of interest. Comments are a telltale sign to me that the person doesn't want to see me in a different way than they've already perceived me. So if you're that, I was just listening to someone's explanation of cognitive bias and why people change or don't change their opinions about things, and it was pretty interesting. Yeah, good comments. So happy you're all here, everybody. We had also Writer Sanctuary drop in, say hello. Eva was saying similar story about her mom. She was told to hang out with her good cousin, but cousin not the good one.
Yep.
Yeah. And then a lot of comments about the mouth filter, which is just funny. Yeah. Jack says Cobalt Dragon, more like Cobalt Goat, which stands for greatest of all time, in case you're not familiar.
I don't know. Could be Jack, so it could go either way. He's got a funny sense of humor.
Awesome. That's true. He's apparently my immortal enemy, so yeah. Okay, so I'm going to shove us forward into the words section and ask you what your favorite word is. Well, let's do that now so that I don't have to remember later. What's the word of the day for the bingo boards?
And I had to try and remember and double check. Discombobulated. No?
Discombobulated.
Oh, it's so close. I say it both ways.
Yeah, that's a pun, but it's not actually a word. I mean, it's a joke word. So I'm going to say the actual word. Yeah. That's what I put on the bingo sheet anyway. So in case anyone.
What did you put on the bingo sheet? The discombobulated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The word that means something that will show up in a dictionary.
Oh, wow. You made it like homework, Margaret. Come on. I had a word before.
I'm encouraging critical thinking. So there will be homework.
Thinking. No. I want to be like the other millions.
Yes. So the thing about words in this book, which I thought was really interesting, is that Martha Beck tells us to dissolve them. Like, think of the words that come up in our brain and just like obliterate them, which is a different approach than I'd seen before. she talks about dissolving or disbelieving the words in your mind because they're the voices of other people who have tried to condition you. And I thought, oh yes, that is deeply resonating. So how do we think that functions differently? How do we think that's on like a different level as our brain that records words and uses vocabulary and the mind that is playing old soundtracks? What kind of experience do you have with that, or did you have with it in the book?
Throughout my whole life. In the book, because again, as I was reading, and I guess for me, part of it's because my background's psychology. I've been a caseworker as well as an educational assistant. So, with different clients, different situations, my own situation growing up. So, as I read through this book, of course, I was revisiting various events. And because I've worked with clients and students for so long, I tend to tell my, okay, when I'm looking at a situation that had happened or is happening in my life, what would I tell a student or a client to do? And that kind of brings me out of, if, it's happened and I'm in that pity pot, I would tell people, like, take a dump or get off the pot. Like, you got to move forward. I know I don't, I speak plain English. Fancy words are not my shtick. But as I was reading the book, I was thinking back to different situations or the old messages, as in, you're too sensitive, or, you need to kind of filter this or that, whatever the scenario that was coming up. So reading through this book, and I had said before we came on, it was the perfect time to read this again, because as I shared in my video, I almost shut down my channel a few weeks ago. The pain wasn't going away. There were no solutions. YouTube, I got hit with that idiotic email that apparently went out to many people, but I didn't know it. It was just a massive boondoggle. And I was like, but if I get rid of my channel, what the hell am I going to do all day? I mean, I can read, but who am I going to talk to about it? And yeah, I could do it in the comments and I enjoy that, or go to sprints. That's great. But I want to share my stuff in a different way too. And then I finally thought, I'm too stupid to stay down. Like, my example is a life of I'm too stupid to stay down. So as I was reading this book again now, I'm like, yeah, I made the right decision to stay on YouTube. I'm on the right track. Thankfully, the new meds are still working, so I've been pain-free for almost 2 full weeks.
Amazing.
I feel like my old self again, minus the paycheck. But either way, that's okay too, because I do believe the universe puts us where we need to be, when we need to be there. And for right now, this seems to be the format that's working. I mean, my community, I'm still under 500, but it's an amazing.
You're within 10. You're within 10. So if anyone here is not yet subscribed to Elaine, Cobalt Dragon.
And I mean, it's been 3 years, and that's okay. But the community I've built is exactly what I looked for. Kindreds. I mean, I could count on one hand the trollish comments I've had in 3 years, and I have over 500 videos. So I'm doing damn good. Like, the universe be looking after my channel and my comments. And so as I read this book, it was like when I read it in 2009, I have all these amazing ideas going through my head of, ooh, I can put, my little sticky notes or flashcards of the sayings, whether it's reptilian brain. And I did this time, I've tagged and I've got all the different sayings. And so, and I started doing my life is list again, because I find when thanks, Rachel. Yeah.
You do yours on top, which is interesting because I would never be able to see those.
See, I put mine on top.
Yeah.
And I've noticed a lot of you have them down the side. I do mine on top because I put my books on the shelves like this.
Yeah, I mean, so do I. I just realized.
And I'm like, how do you people not mush your tags?
Oh, because they don't. I mean, they don't go far out beyond the hardcover.
True.
So, yeah.
But yeah, that's why I keep mine on top, because then I can stack them all on the shelves, and it's an easy. Oh yeah, I read that because looky all the tags.
Yeah.
Noah would be proud of me, but there's annotating and everything in there too. But with my Life is Great list, I did it again the other day. It had been months since I've done it, and I used to do it daily for years because that's what kept me in the happy place. So there's just, I really can't say enough about this book, because no matter when I've read it or reread it, there are just, and this is the type of self-help I look for. What can I incorporate daily and consistently? And that goes back to what you were saying. And it's the same as going to a professional development session. And she talks about this in the conferences too, I believe. You go, the one individual who finally years later was okay. But you go to a PD session, whether it's PD or Abraham Hicks, Law of Attraction, whatever. You're there, you're with people, you're like, yeah, I can do this, blah, blah, and you're pumped. And same with finishing the self-help programs, because, I like doing things quietly. I'm not a big group out there person, but you're still pumped, right? Yeah, look at all the synchronicity and the coincidence and blah, blah, blah. And then, you get busy with life and you get off track and you stop doing your My Life is Great or Life is Great Because list or whatever it was you were doing. And then you got to get yourself back on track again, whether that's picking up other ideas from a different book or revisiting a book. And it's just that flow, right? Because we have to, and I do it even with my spirituality and different things, because there are things that I do, whether it's lighting my incense in the morning and sending love and light out to the world, or doing my Reiki. Life gets busy, and that reptilian brain and those old messages come back, and then you're busy, and it's like, okay, I got my toolbox and it's overflowing. Why am I not using my toolbox?
Yeah, you forget
it's that constant reminder, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what I find is interesting is that it's just as much work to disbelieve something as it is to believe something sometimes. Yep. So like what Rachel is saying, the imps in our minds have the voices of our detractors.
Yeah.
That Mama Maggie has said. And so if you live with that for a long time, you may have to put just as much energy into like clearing the space in your mind so that other things can come in and you can focus on other things. As you do, like cultivating creativity and energy and all that kind of stuff. So it's a great point.
Well, I just want to add here too, with the broken record you mentioned. And this is why I don't go back often and revisit various scenarios. Because once you've gone to if you're always looking back, you're going to keep running into walls because you don't know where the hell you're going. And the past is the past. Now, I believe and for me, this is what made the difference, because I had a lot of rage growing up. And yes, I do still have one hell of a temper, but it's better than it used to be. And my fist hasn't kissed a wall in a long time. So I'd say I've been doing good, done a lot of work, much of work. But I believe that life is about lessons. And so when I looked at everything with that concept of growing up and the things that happened and all the rest of it, it was like, if I hadn't, and I'm going to call it survived, all of that, I wouldn't be who I am now. And I wouldn't have the opinions that I have now. So they actually did me a favor. I would have preferred to read it in a book, but it doesn't stick the
Right,
same
right.
way.
I do lots of readings and books and don't follow through. So yeah.
Exactly. But it also occurred to me, so now I am who I am, and I happen to like who I am. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. They're not my cup of tea either. That's why we find our kindreds. Tea or coffee? Clink.
Tea.
No,
Yeah,
but
mine is coffee. It's all good.
yeah. But so looking at it, and that's when for me everything really started clicking. The Celestine prophecy, the synchronicity. I don't think and this is where it gets hard to talk to people about it. Not every single thing fits in there. Yes, sadly, bad things happen to amazingly good people, and they didn't attract that shit. You're not going to convince me ever. And I agree. Anne Frank did not bring down that situation the way some of these
Call it down. Yeah, yeah.
the way some of these LOA people would describe it. That's where I have a difference. But I do think there are life lessons. You can't, the back injury, perfect example. You can't see it in when you're in the middle of the hurricane. But when I looked at it years later and connected all the dots and all the amazing things that flowed from it, as in an amazing dream job in a resource room and an award for an accomplishment and all that jazz, that wouldn't have happened without that back injury. You know, I wouldn't have been home to watch Cedric bring 5 little cuties into the world on my couch downstairs. You know, so and that's why they say hindsight's 2020, because then you can see those connections. But go ahead.
So I want to like give you a little challenge here. You're saying like you don't look to the past too often because it's past, but have you heard of the approach or the worldview, which I think is a Indigenous peoples of Canada, which is where I heard it, is that we're walking through time and the universe backwards so that we can only see where we've been and we don't know where we're going. Just a completely different way of conceiving of what is possible and where we draw our wisdom from. And I just thought that was so fascinating. And I've sort of like pondered that a few times since. And yeah,
that's a fascinating one. Well, I mean, every now and again I go to the past, but so much of it I've already figured out because I've been there, and I don't talk about it a lot with people. Certainly not on the internet, because one, I don't know who's listening. I don't know what headspace they're in, and I don't want to give the wrong message. But two, if you're always back there, how do you heal the wounded healer? Because you're constantly in that trauma or situation. But eventually, and I used to tell this to my students, and some of them would get so pissed off because they'd be like, I'm like this because of my parents. And I'm like, how old are you again? Oh, that's right. You're responsible for your choices now. You can't keep blaming all the shite that happened when you were a kid. Eventually, you got to do the work. You need to make your choices, and you need to take responsibility for your actions.
Yeah.
You can't keep blaming them. But if you're constantly in that headspace, reliving, oh, I wish I'd done this. Oh, I wish I'd said that. You're not moving forward. You're not moving forward.
Which is interesting because like I'm seeing a little bit of a dichotomy here between people who believe that like the universe has instincts and like God is change and God is everywhere in nature, which I love, and thinking, okay, they're the ones that are depending on themselves. I'm generalizing here. This is not obviously a rule. They're the ones that are depending on themselves to make their destiny happen, right? And the people who are all about individual and no government handouts and this kind of thing, they're the ones that are about like often stuck in blaming others for what is their situation instead of taking responsibility. And I was just thinking of that while you were saying that.
Yep. And
All
that's the thing is, I mean, again, it's perspective, right? Thank you, Rachel.
You're
It's
9 away.
Yay! It's perspective. It's how you look at the world. And I was thinking last night, listening to you and Brian, because I'd forgotten that I was thinking it was going to be in the afternoon, but it was the evening. It was a humidex of 44. Yes, again, I was stretched out on my couch just to listening. I wasn't puttering, doing my organizing, like I said in the post. It's like, oh no, I'm just chilling out here. But you had said, how do you reach other people? How do you get them to understand that their actions have bigger consequences for other humans? And I'd been pondering that since you said it last night. And basically, you can't change other people. You find the kindreds, you connect, you build community, you keep building community, and that keeps growing, and that light keeps going. Whether that light is in energy, things happening, whether it's in your local community, which is a great place to start, whether it's in the internet, social media community, which desperately needs people who are sharing, spreading the light, and collecting. Because if they don't, and some people said this before when that whole, what am I thinking? Not the tariffs. Yeah, well, the ban stuff, because I'm in Canada. So, of course, there was, don't buy American or support American, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, well, shite. YouTube is American. So is Google. But then some people were saying, well, but then some people are saying, but, you got YouTube Canada and it's all over the world. So I'm like, okay, I can keep doing this and not get, crap in my comments. And some people were saying too, if you give in and leave, your voice is gone. And if other positive people all start, jumping ship, that only leaves the cray-cray to keep feeding their fear and hatred and racism, and that's all that's out there. Yeah. So the light has to stay.
Yeah. And even it's a fast trip, so we don't want it to run into anything, so we need people on board. I'm nowhere near the little steering mechanism, whatever that's called. But yeah, Diane's is feeling the same. I'm almost given up on All Things Booktube many times, even as a subscriber. Aww. If that helps, it gets to you sometimes. I've become very specific in who I give my time to.
Exactly. And I'm the same. I mean, I go through my subscriber list. There are some wonderful, beautiful people out there, but there's only so many hours in the day. And I want to listen and see, this is why I don't do audiobooks. When I'm outside, I want to hear the birds. I want to hear the leaves rustling. I want to hear the little groundhogs beep, 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 at each other and chewing cat kibbles. Like, I don't want something stuck in my head and miss out.
Yeah. Yeah. Marian says, there's a wonderful Zen koan. When walking, just walk. When sitting, just sit. Above all, don't wobble. So when I start to feel fuddled, which is different from befuddled, I try to come back to that, but it's not always easy.
Yeah.
Eva has a solution. We'd help.
We help. Yeah. And you know what? And I'm not knocking it. For a lot of people, it does, whether it's pain, whether it's anxiety. There are so many different issues. I am concerned because as a former counselor who dealt with people who had issues with many substances, alcohol, which is also legal, weed, which is now. And I mean, again, it's one of those in moderation or what you need to take for it to be effective. It's no different than prescription meds, to be honest. I mean, it boggles my brain mainly because I'm not a pill taker, but it's either that or have no life. So I've sucked it up. I take my meds. but I don't take them with a bottle or a jar. No, bottle. I don't take it with a bottle of wine like, Stephen King and a bunch of these others. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you people? Like, how did that happen? And I get it. Everyone's got their own thing. And, if I take the pill and, I felt comfy when I had a drink of wine, the pain's gone. Let's do it again. And I'm just like, no. I want to function in a day, thank you. I don't want to be a farking zombie.
Yeah.
But there are benefits, and actually, it's funny. My doctor this time, who we are not close, and the only reason I see him every year is for a med check-in because of the meds I'm on. Otherwise, I wouldn't need him if not for the stupid pills. But I haven't found anything else yet, and I've Reiki everything I've tried. But he's like, oh, have you tried weed? I'm like, actually, yes. And it's like smoking razor blades. So, it's a good thing for people who can do that. I'm sad I found one thing that worked, but it's like smoking razor blades. So, no back pain, but my throat felt like, so it doesn't work for me. But, hallelujah, it's out there and works for other people.
Right.
Same as books. We don't all have to love the same book. That's why it's good there's so many different authors.
Either responding to the comment about the living in the past. I don't think it's any more detrimental to my growth than living the future is, but being present is hard.
Yeah, and it is.
Okay, so compare it to a phobia of spiders. Is revisiting the spider's nest just keeping one in the trauma? Or is that like confrontational therapy? Or what do they have it where you're
adverse or something? I know there's a name for it, and I can't.
Or is it getting them past the fear?
Aversion therapy? No.
Aversion therapy, maybe.
Am I right?
That sounds right. I'll go with it.
I know I've heard it.
We'll correct us if we're wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, different things work for different people. Some people need to revisit it to work through it, or they have other purposes. And again, this is why it's challenging to have this type of discussion in this format.
Yeah.
Because you don't know the background. You don't know what's going to work for each person. And everyone, that's where the critical thinking comes in. Whether it's reading a self-help book or listening to a live stream podcast is like, okay, does this make sense for me?
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to work best for me? And that's where, I don't expect, nor do I want anyone to necessarily believe what I'm saying as this is the answer. I need to do it. It's it's food for thought, chew on it for a while, and maybe it's total crap for you, and that's okay.
But you know what feels good is just to be heard. It's just to have someone listen and take it in and realize that, they thought your mulling over of things in your life was worth listening to. And then, if you have a relationship with that person, giving it back, saying your own take on the same situation. Yeah. Valuing the relationship.
Yep.
Marion says, Australian Aborigines have bubbles of time. The things you remember clearest are closest in time. The things you don't remember were 100 years ago. Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard that. Things you don't remember were 100 years ago.
Now, I was wondering if that came up in Steering, or another book I was just reading was speaking about the Australian Aboriginals and dream time. That this is the dream time.
Right.
And the other is reality. So just things to wrap your head around. Yeah, bubbles in time. That is a cool way of looking at it.
Okay, 48. This is 7 minutes ago, and already this is 100 years ago because I don't remember what this refers to. He was talking. Yeah. And we can't punish the individuals for using the machine to thrive. So
it's number one in most that need help. Maybe about how to reach out to people, or Probably had something to do with Captain Makeup and the Goons.
We weren't talking about that. We were talking about something else. So
just a minute ago?
Yeah, even 7 minutes ago. May have to recontextualize that for us. On A Culture's Take on Time, Rachel says, Wisdom Sits in Places is about the Western Apache by Keith Basso. Oh, and that's probably her answer to the question, which she put at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will write that down. It's really cool. That's one of those things that will like warp, but not in a bad way. Just like completely change the shape of how you interpret things, which I think is fun.
Oh, okay. I just saw Eva's answer for the question.
Oh, boycotting. So
yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Caffeine. Yeah. Substances. Mm-hmm.
Never. What are you talking about? That's just crazy. That's like tidy up in only 30 books. Come on.
Yep. See, now you're coming after my girl, Marie, which I won't have on this channel. There's no Marie.
I unhauled that book.
And I keep looking out for a used copy that's in my price range. So,
it's at my thrift store. If shipping and handling wasn't insane, I could send you your girl.
That's fine. You could. Well, I'm not gonna get off on a tangent. Hubby says I should wear headphones when we walk. I'd rather listen to the traffic, people talking. Polish is still over my head, or call a stray cat on the route. So he's trying to get you to be more efficient, and you're like, well, no, I'm enjoying the environment that I'm in. That's valid.
That's right.
That's valid, yeah.
Be aware, you have drivers like me going, get the headphones off. What are you walking in front of my car?
Yeah. And Diane said to Rachel about where wisdom sits. I'm going to look into that book, right? Same. Nice. When Eva went for a new mood medication, I said my concept of time was starting to be too much. Doctor knew exactly. Oh, wow. That's great. That's a great the minds. That's exciting.
That's the kind of doctor you want, not my dingbat.
Okay. Yep, so the boycotting, protesting. Gotcha. Thank you. Smuggle it across the border story. I mean, oh my gosh. Yeah. I know how far Canada is. I'm only a state away. I'm going to go to Vancouver next month, which is exciting. Never been before. But I was reading
how lovely.
It talks about Detroit, and it shows a little streetscape of Detroit and how it's right across the river. And I'm always so surprised that like across the Great Lakes, it's right there.
Yeah. Now, funny story, speaking of close, and this was back when I think I was in my early 20s, and a group of us went down to Cedar Point. So it was a fair drive. I mean, for me here in London, the border is only 2-ish hours away from Detroit. Go down to Windsor and hop. Or I could go up Toronto way and through. There's a lot of border crossings within, just a few hours away.
Okay.
But I remember we went down to Cedar Point. Great day on the rides, everything else. We're driving back and we made a wrong turn. Yeah, exactly. And so probably sketchy neighborhood, to say the least. We're at a stop sign. People are coming for the car. And we're all like, just drive.
Oh, my gosh.
So we did and made it to the border. All was good. But, even if you come up here in certain neighborhoods, but I live here, so I know what neighborhoods to not wander in.
Right.
You get it everywhere, right? I mean, so to say it's on one side or the other is unfair. Detroit is very sad because when the auto industry went boobies up.
Well, yeah, it's a different thing now. So the book that I was reading is about gentrification. It's nobody's book. I'm just reading it because I got it from the library. But it's talking about how it's being redeveloped and how the redevelopment impulse in America is often harmful, and some interesting facts about urban policy. So, Hi, Leslie.
Hey, Leslie.
Racism. Thank you, Eva. Yeah, totally. Okay, so I have several other questions. I don't want to get us too much off track because we have an hour, but you're free to chat on, so we're gonna keep chatting on.
I can babble for hours, honey.
So I remember in high school, and I've gone back to my notes that I still had from high school, and I've gone to like lecture sites to try to find this, and I can't. So it's just something that was in my head. But I
Yeah.
remember studying the transcendentalists like Emerson and thinking about how it was like everyone had a ring around themselves that was like a crust. And if you had a universal truth that you shared on some art or whatever, it was breaking through the crust. And so that's how we got to connect to each other and find the universal truth. And I thought that was really cool. So
Yeah.
when Martha Beck has this visual of everyone having like a planet, like I was envisioning with the transcendentalists, the outside is called the shallows. The middle ring is called the ring of fire.
Yeah.
And the core is called the core of peace. And I was like, oh man, I totally can envision this and how it works, right? So her point with this model is that often most of our lives we exist in the shallows. That's how we interact with people. And it doesn't have to be positive or negative. It's just like that's where we are mostly. And then if we're pierced like through that, sometimes we have to go through this ring of fire, which is scorching and confronting and hard to get through. But then in the middle is a core of peace, which is where you're in acceptance, you're in agreement with yourself, alignment. There's all these sort of different ways of envisioning it. So can you illustrate a possible example of each of these categories from your life? And I have mine ready to go. So this is one of the ones I sent in case you have those ready to go.
No, I don't. I didn't do my homework, but I do remember reading this. And I'm going to say hi to everybody at work because I know they'll pop in and out. And
there we go. There's Cat.
Yeah. Little kitty cat. And I think rereading that part really made me start to think about all the things I need to redo with this book in terms of plans and that. Ring of Fire. Been there, done that. And if I can't give you an example from each layer, my pea brain doesn't work like that. But I can give you an overall because the Ring of Fire really stands out. And
as it would.
And the back injury really brought that home.
Right.
Because, I mean, most of my life, I've kept a very small core group of individuals. Like I'm not big out there, let's do an open house and have 80 people walk through my space. No, thank you. Yeah. No, because you'll bring all your energy and I'll have to smudge for a farking week. Just stay the hell out. So I don't do that.
Yeah.
And there have been people who I've had in my life since I was a kid, others that, for decades, for different reasons, others coworkers, new, what have you. And this was all before the internet, just to be clear. So this isn't anybody I currently know. But so during that back injury time, there was a lot of burning and not just in my spine. And
burning of bridges, perhaps.
Yeah. And I mean, Beck does mention when you start changing, I mean, it happened when I started looking into the pagan path and individual and, all of that. And it certainly happened when there were things going on with the back injury and job, what have you. And I mean, I know this as being a counselor with addictions. Not everybody wants you to change. And when you decide to quit drinking or quit drugging, you can't hang out with the same folks.
Right.
Typically. Because they don't want you to change because they're not ready. Whether it's to find a new spiritual path, a new way of doing things, a new thought frame, whatever, they don't want you to change. And it doesn't mean there's going to be an argument or anything. With some people, there is. And other people just drift away because you're not on the same path anymore. And I know I had a conversation with someone, it was a number of years ago, and it was even after the back injury, but that was one where the ring of fire really, oh, yeah, I know what this is. And I was talking to someone, and, they were mentioning getting together, and I'm like, no. And they're like, what? I'm like, number one, you wouldn't even know who the hell I am. Like, you have no idea how much I've changed, and I'm not putting up with stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So there's no point getting together because we have nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, you're still there and you have a good time with that, but I'm done. Or there was an individual who for decades I'd been in touch with, and more than once always had to text again to get a response. I did get a text. I didn't answer. I don't know, things were happening. I actually forgot, which is, yes, unusual for me, but I legit forgot. I've never heard from that person again, and that was 3 years ago. I'm like, shit, I could have got rid of you decades ago, because, if that's all it took, damn.
Returning the energy. So one of the popular things these days, past 2 years, I've heard is that, how is it phrased? Often it's in like romantic relationships, heterosexual romantic relationships, where the person will say, as soon as I stop doing for you and I reflect the energy back that you're giving to me, you don't like it. So like that's the sort of therapy they need to go through because they're not seeing it. Yeah. So in your case, you're talking about getting rid of relationships, vaporizing them. When she talks about Ring of Fire, I was thinking of like, when you go to a meat locker and there's that huge fan that turns on when you open the door and like they're blowing and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Getting bacteria. That's kind of what I think. It's like you're going through what astronauts go through or what butchers will go through.
Oh, quarantine. Yeah. And you have to be okay with it. Like, it's uncomfortable and it's uneasy. And there's people I miss. I mean, everything. Obviously, we had good times or I wouldn't have hung around with them. I'm just not that person anymore. And it's not who I want to be anymore.
Yeah. This is really hard.
It is.
So I had examples.
In my inner peace.
Yeah. Examples of the shallows would be like clever wordplay. So this is something that's like on the surface, right? I love words. I love puns. I love like wordplay things and joking around like that. So that's a shallows exercise, but positive. So for the core of peace, one of these memories that I have that really connects to like a joyful moment that was shared with others was when I was between high school and college. I did an exchange with a French family and I was in France for 3 weeks, and there was one moment where we were out dancing until like 3 in the morning, and it was super fun. And then we went to a bakery that was opening at 4 in the morning, and they like knocked at the door and they got handed butter croissants and they were pulled apart and they were steaming, and we were just like giggling and tired and had this transformative experience, and then fresh croissants. And I just remember that moment of being like, wow, this is heaven.
Yeah, no kidding.
So that's one of those things that I connect to, being like, okay, what was it about that moment that made me feel so connected to people and the world and positive? It was great. And then the Ring of Fire, I would say any of the like several great heartbreaks that have shaken me in my life. So I've got those where I felt very taken off balance, where something happened where I did not expect it. And those heartbreaks were sort of those things where it was like burning up and not my choice. It was one of those things where, okay, I'm just going to sit here until I figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So, not a positive one, but I don't think there are any positive Ring of Fire experiences until you figure out what you're about,
Well, and see, again, that's like when I talked about the back injury. Those 5 months were horrific. I wouldn't wish them on anyone.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't wish them away at this point. Because without all of that, yes, there were good things in terms of my job. It led to other things. But there were a lot of things that flowed from that in terms of not just having, Cedric, Ghost, and Xena with us, and we'd already had Morgan. So there was, the fur kids, there was the job, but there was me and the changes that came in me. And I mean, most days I'm okay, even though it's been years ago. It still bugs me to not be working. But there's a reason I'm not. Like, there's other things. Thankfully, we were smart, paid off the mortgage over a decade, 15 years ago, or it'd be a very different life right now.
Right.
I'm blessed to have, an income with my hubby who's not interested in retiring, plus the bit that I have from pension and that. So, I mean, we're not big bucks folks, but we've always lived simple. We're not travelers. We've always made sure we've got the basics, our kids are taken care of, and that's all we need. So yeah, I just have to get over those days where I feel useless because I'm not working.
That's a powerful feeling, the useless. I identify with that. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're working. You're useful. I'm sitting at home yapping on the screen.
Okay, so I do have a question about The Secret. So a lot of what we come up against in Steering by Starlight, which I love the title, is can be considered magic, but it's not the secret. So how would you separate these two for other people who may not know the difference or know what The Secret was?
Okay. So when I first read The Secret, there were a couple of things that put me off from the get-go. The fact that everyone sharing "my laugh is so good" are all farkin' millionaires. Like, shut the hell up. I can't relate to you. And Chicken Soup for the Soul was awesome when it first came out. It was fresh. It was unique. Now you can get everything. Chicken Soup for the Day I Had the Farts. Like, give me a break and chill out.
It's gotten quite commercial, I think is what you mean.
That would be one way of putting it.
It's no longer feeling authentic. It's feeling like a money grab.
Yeah. So that turned me off right from there. And I mean, the fracking millionaires. Hi. But so it wasn't people I could relate to. The stories were too extreme. They were too out there. It wasn't Jack and Jill average who, were doing okay. Yeah, there you go. There's got to be one there. Yeah. So that turned me off. I thought it was an interesting concept. It wasn't my first introduction to law of attraction. I mean, Celestine prophecy in a way, and the synchronicity and getting kindreds is a type of law of attraction and co-creating. And these all have different ways of putting the same thing. So that turned me off, and I unhauled that book. I've seen it at the thrift store, and I don't want it in my collection. The other part that turned me off with it was once I started listening to Abraham Hicks on YouTube and got into some of her work, which is also law of attraction. Esther Hicks channels an entity known as Abraham. And it's, again, co-creating, law of attraction, same type of thing. Now, fun fact, and I've never seen the movie The Secret, but I do highly recommend the movie The Celestine Prophecy. But The Secret, turns out, wasn't a secret. Rhonda Byrne went to interview Esther Hicks. It was Esther and Jerry Hicks, her husband, but Esther channels. Jerry since passed away. I think Esther's still alive. But anyhow, so Rhonda Byrne had gone to a seminar, liked the idea, had been in communication with Esther. Fast forward a little bit. Hey, guess where Rhonda Byrne got her work and what it's based on? But then decided, I don't want to give you a cut anymore and acknowledge where your work came from.
Right.
So now I'm just going to make it sound like I've come up with all of this. And I'm like, and boom, liars,
Yeah.
got no use for you.
Yeah.
Got no use for you. If you took somebody else's work and made it your own, then have the balls or the titties, whatever parts you need to own up to the fact this is not yours and the damage it did. And I remember from reading and steering, and again, this is where the watch what you say and who's listening, because those people went cray. Oh, I just have to spend and it'll come. It's like critical thinking.
Right. Here's the thing. When you're highlighting what turned you off immediately, it was because the representation was people living a luxurious life. And
Yeah.
you're like, well, okay, you're not giving a full picture here. For me, what it was is the victim blaming. So it's like you're not working hard enough. And if it's not working out for you, it's your fault. And for me, that went back to religion. And like what you would hear, well, it's because of your sins and you haven't prayed hard enough, or whatever else you hear in other churches. That's not my personal experience, but it had a very similar sound to the churchiness of earlier teachings. So for me, hearing that, like, you're putting all of the sins of the system onto the individual who cannot control it, to me that was like, oh, that's because you're controlling the capital at the top. This is obviously a billionaire conspiracy. So I was like, zoop, no.
Yeah. Agreed. It was just, I couldn't relate. And partly because I lead a simple life. So I wasn't aspiring to that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't say no to winning the lottery, but I'd share most of it with the people I know. I need very little to survive.
Maybe we need a Booktube lottery winner tag. That would be a fun tag to hear about. What would you do with the, So Diane said, I did get into The Secret way back when. I was also into Gary Zukov books. So I don't know that name, but do you know?
Now, see, I have 2 of his books. I just read Seed of the Soul a couple years ago. I want to read it again. I enjoyed that book. The other one, I can't remember the title, but I've noticed quite a bit. And it's fascinating. I'm noticing
seed as in seed, like a plant, or seat as in
seed as in your bone.
Okay.
Seed of the soul. But it's interesting. I'm noticing more and more of these books showing up at the thrift store. As in, people are unhauling them.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that says. If they're silly like me, figured they had what they needed, unhauled them, and they'll go back and buy them again in a bit. But yeah.
The zeitgeist has moved on. So JD says law of attraction is important. Prayers can help in some way, but you need to do the work. You need to make the decision and marry magic to action. I like that. That's good.
And that's perfect. And see, that's the other issue I had with The Secret. It doesn't talk about do the work. You can't just sit your ass on the couch and dream it and wish it and it's all going to happen. You got to get your ass off the couch and do something. Yeah.
JD says an author did an Ask Me Anything session, and JD asked, when did things start moving for you? Sustainability, critical mass. Like, when did things pick up? The answer was almost worthy of an unfollow. They said, you just got to believe in yourself. I mean, it's a truism. It's true. It's, what's it called? Necessary, but not sufficient. It's like one of those things where you got to have faith, but also do the freaking work.
Yes. I mean, you do. And it would frustrate me, especially in the schools, when, people weren't supporting a student's self-esteem or self-worth and being critical, because you've got to have that self-worth, that self-esteem, and you've got to start somewhere to start building up.
Base criteria.
But then you eventually got to get your ass out of the chair, off the couch, out of the pity pot, out of something, and do the work.
Baby steps.
Yeah, you can't just wish. And it was a Stephen King book, and it was in the first part, intro, preface, whatever.
Prologue.
And yeah, thank you. And the person was saying, that he goes to parties. He's a writer like King. He was talking about King. He goes to parties and people are like, oh, I've always wanted to be a writer. And he's like, yeah, I've always wanted to be a brain surgeon, but what he's saying is, if that's what you want to do, then just write. Like, you can't just become a writer by thinking about it, and you don't just become a brain surgeon without going to school and doing the studies.
You can't practice on friends.
Yeah, and that's what these people miss when they're wishing all this stuff. And it's like, you know what? Make sure you have the schooling that you need. And if you don't, guess what? You got to go to school. You can't just sit there and go, wow, wish this is what I want, and I'm going to write as like it's in the present tense. Well, knock yourself out. But dumbass, if you don't go get the schooling, or you don't figure it out, or you're not paying attention to the job market, etc., what are you doing?
Yeah. So some things the base criteria are pretty set in stone. Others don't. Like, I don't know what Mojo started out with, but she says all for manifestation. It's how I got my home, husband, and now living in Poland. Of course, I worked in and didn't wait for it to happen. Yeah, she says precisely. Having a positive mindset definitely helps, because you get opportunities. You also need to reach out.
Yep.
Yeah, Lord, I didn't reach out, but I had you in my thoughts and prayers. Who gives a fuck? Yeah, there's a special room in the White House now for thoughts and prayers. Did you know that? They're dedicating a budget to thoughts and prayers, because that's how hypocritical they are.
Oh, my.
I didn't verify, but yeah, that's what I heard.
Well, I'm pretty sure little Miss Who Gives a Fook About Christmas won't be sitting there.
Yeah.
She'll be making her nudie prints. Ooh, sorry, she already made her money.
There are so many people in this world who work so very hard and get so very little for it. That is true. That is true. The part of the inequity of the world. Yeah.
Yep.
If their dreams are really big, that's why The Secret isn't an inimitable law, or like a law of the universe. It's the same reason why bad things happen to good people. It's like there's just shit that happens. So yeah. What we want for people who, if they can't get the dream that they're dreaming of and working towards, what we want for them is to at least enjoy what they are doing. And I don't know what the answer to that is. That gets into philosophy, and that is not my field. Diane says, I read Seed of the Soul and Soul Stories, but he has many. Yes, noticed the same too about his books and thrift stores. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and Diane's in Florida, so that is interesting, and I'm here in Canada.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Okay, Florida.
That's cool.
JD, we're popping off in the chat here on this, so I'm going to try to get through some of the comments and they can make sense in context.
I'm good. I'm in no rush, so however long you want to go, Margaret, I'm cool.
100%. There's luck involved, or connections, and how people love omitting that part. Yeah.
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 And it is true. I mean, it's sometimes there is luck. I mean, perfect example. I've been on YouTube 3 years. I know a number of other people who have. And our sub counts are all different, but so is all our returning viewers and everything else. I've watched other people who have just started in a year, and they're like 1,000 to 4,000 subs.
I know.
I was at 50 the first year. And I've been thinking about this because I'm coming up to the 500, and I've put out, are there questions you want me to answer? And I'll possibly do it at the end of September, because numbers go up and down. So I'll wait till it's at 520 because I don't want to put it up when I'm sitting at 495. Thank you, 500. What the hell? But and I was going to say, well, if I can make it, anyone can make it. And then I'm like, you know what? That's bullshit. I had 50 subs the first year. How many people would still be going 3 years later when I've watched so many go by the wayside, or the number of people I've heard after 1 year and they're at 200, 300, 400 subs going, I'm not doing well enough. Maybe I'll give up. What now?
Okay.
I mean,
okay. So I have a big tangent. So I was just watching not because of the Talk with Brian, but I finally got to some of my watch later things because it's too hot to do anything but listen to videos apparently. And Lynn D. Jung, she's an author who's been on YouTube for 7 years, and she just got a book deal. And she's talking about generative AI. And she's talking about, so why are you writing? Like, do you consider yourself a writer if you're using generative AI for your prompts or in any aspect of your process? And it was like, why do you consider yourself a writer? And she's like, I'm going to be frank, I do not, because if you want to write, you will write because you want to write. Like if you're getting prompts because you want to push out a story and you have a great idea, but you don't know how to make it a story, there's a skill set to learn. There is a path of like learning how to do those things to make a story. And if you're shortcutting it because you don't want to learn those skills, like you are not a writer. And I totally agreed with how she laid it out better. She had a whole video on it, but I'm trying to condense it here. And she said, if your purpose in becoming a writer is so that you can sell stories and make money, you're not a writer. Like you want to be an author without being a writer. And I was like, oh, there's the key, right? So we were just talking about skipping ahead. I forget why that related, but I thought I'd drop it.
But you know what? It's a perfect point because again, right, is why are you doing it? Sorry, I just got distracted by a mourning dove on the roof. I can just see a little and I'm like, dove. But again, it goes back to why are you doing something? What's your motivation and reason? And I 100% agree. If you're a writer, there's something you want to share with the world in written form. And AI isn't going to do that for you. It's the same as a painter. They share in pictures or different imagery, or a teacher. Are you standing in front of that class because at least here in Ontario, I don't know about in the States. Up here, I think they start at 40 grand. A lot I know are over 100 grand a year now. It's like, are you standing up there because of the pay and that big ass pension you're going to get? Or are you standing up there because you give a crap about the body sitting in the room and you want to convey knowledge and information?
Yeah.
I think it's crucial. And I think sometimes, again, going back to like The Secret or that type of book, people forget, what's the motivation? What skills do you need? All of that, like the critical thinking. The critical thinking, if more people knew about critical thinking, grifters would not be a thing because they'd be screwed. People would not be just throwing their money at them.
Yeah. It's a good point. Success is a combination of luck and hard work and manifestation and magic. Those are us trying to pull the luck, but we can't just ignore the other hard work percentage.
Exactly.
Mic drop, says Moni. Yep.
Yeah.
I wrote a book with AI and it's not a bestseller. Wah! Exactly. Yeah.
How'd that happen?
I won't put that one up, JD. Secret is successful for the same reason horoscopes are popular. It applies to many people and makes them feel special and happy to pay for the book. Yeah. I will say that sometimes you just need a spark of an idea to get you out of a funk. And so that's what I find is interesting about horoscopes and astrology.
Well, horoscopes, And I mean, again, I do tarot cards and stuff like that. Astrology I know about it, but is not my thing. To me, tarot is guideposts, not this is
similar purpose.
Yeah, this isn't what the future is. But when I do my tarot reading, I do it for me, based on my energy into the cards, all of that. Horoscopes in the newspaper, and I've read them. I have horoscope books. But
the newspaper ones are the most generalized slap.
Well, but even the books, because who's going to buy that book? Where are they in their life when they're buying it? And how can you I mean, based on the houses and the planets and all of that, okay, and your sun sign, that part I can get. There are certain qualities that relate to certain astrological signs and your birth year and all of that stuff, and you narrow it down by the chart. But the horoscopes are, maybe it fits for you that day, but how many thousands, millions of Capricorn are going to read that day, and who's having what situation when they're reading that? I mean, I think they try to give you a spark of hope, and I'm never going to bash anyone's hope, whether they read, Esther Hicks, Cryon, whoever, and whatever. But again, the critical thinking.
Right.
If you read it at the beginning of the day, and this is where that self-fulfilling prophecy. Or even with, let's go with even psychics or tarot cards, okay?
Yeah.
Any of the three apply. So you go for a reading with the tarot cards, or you go to a psychic, or you've read your horoscope. And any of the three say, you're going to meet this tall, dark-eyed stranger, and he the one. And so what are you going to do for the rest of the day or the next few weeks?
Well, you're not going to stay at home.
Exactly. But every tall, dark-eyed stranger, you're going to be going, well, is it him? Is it him? Do I go talk to him? It's like self-fulfilling prophecy. Maybe it's him.
But maybe you're not that type of person. So maybe it gets you out. Maybe that's why it's hopeful. I don't know. Yeah. JD says, my channel's a decade old and I can't be bothered to be a slave to any platform. Plus, I also don't need to be an online performer. If I'm inclined to record, I will.
Awesome.
Or related, I've seen so many people burn out.
Yeah.
Mojo says 9 years in and at 2,400.
Nice.
That's a significant accomplishment besides all the books and like the publishing.
That's
amazing
awesome.
Stuff. I publish what I believe in, and I also have a day job that is based on writing and creativity. Yeah. I guess this is back in my Lynn D. Jung comment. Writer versus author is different for sure, at least in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Can you unpack it a bit more? I agree, but I'm curious as to your context, your POV. Mojo says, we are so alike. Tarot, runes, stones, still working on the tea leaves. Oh, nice.
See, tea leaves are beyond me, and it's so funny. So I do say my family's from Hungary, partly because of my family. The border, according to the politicians, puts them in Romania. Lord help you, should you have ever mentioned to my family they were Romanian.
Really?
Oh, that shit don't happen.
Bit of prejudice, would you say?
A lot. Because there has been, I mean,
right.
And here's where Vlad comes in, right? Between Hungary, Romania, it's been a big boondoggle for centuries. But see, when my grandparents were born in 1902 and 1903, their little village, which literally had no streets, dirt paths, 1 acre plots of land, was in Hungary. They were Hungarian. When the world penalized Hungary for being part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and they literally took the country and cut it down to half the size, that border moved.
Right.
They're Hungarian. Now, over in Europe, there are groups known as gypsies, who are treated much like Native Americans in the Americas, right?
Yeah.
There's the bias, all kinds of issues, problems. They do a lot of tarot cards and things.
Hmm.
I remember I must have had an insane moment. I asked my aunt years ago, that my family's all passed now. Well, other than my sibling, but she doesn't count. She's a waste of air. But I asked my aunt if we had any tarot card readers or such in our background. Oh, I had to move the phone from my ear. We're not gypsies. We don't do that kind of stuff. What are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, never mind. Never mind.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, my grandmother's nickname for me as a kid was Little Gypsy, because my hair was a dark brown and I was always tan, super dark, because being out on the farm, right? So being a little gypsy was okay, but apparently tarot cards not so much.
Well, I'm sure it brings up fears of prejudice and stuff like that. And just a note to be welcoming to folks who go by different names. I think they go by Roma in Europe as like a traveling people, but in the UK they still call them gypsies themselves. Like I read a memoir by someone who acknowledges that like other people like different terms, but gypsy is what they call their own culture. So yeah.
But it's the same here, because I know there are some Native Americans who prefer to be referred to as Native Americans or Indigenous people. Mm-hmm. But I've met some people who have outright said, no, I'm Indian. I'm like, so how do you know? Again, it's that challenge of know who you're talking to. Face to face is much easier because, of course, you can ask, right?
Yeah.
But therein becomes the issue sometimes with social media.
Pisces, love will manifest. Libra, let go of the thing you can't let go. Gemini, don't be a two-faced asshole. By the way, so many big channels absolutely suck for my taste.
Yeah. Well, they forget why they started. Some of them.
I sip the tea, don't read it, but occasionally spill it.
Yeah. Well, and that's why when I was doing one of the books in that video as well with my tour, I said, if you're reading these kind of books, take it with a pound of salt. I mean, I read them, but it doesn't mean that I believe David Icke and the reptilian race has taken over the world. I still think they're just idiot humans. And Icke's been around for decades. Now, what was Diane's? Sorry. I love Romania. Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing country. Now, Bran's castle is beautiful, but just to be clear, not Dracula's home, as in Vlad Tepes. That is not his home castle.
So Marian's giving us a similar autobiography called Gypsy Boy by Mikey Walsh. The first time a British person from the gypsy community ever wrote about it.
Interesting.
And so Diane's giving the more context. She says, we're all writers, but not all are meant to take it to the next level of being an author. It's the author is part of a business mindset to make a long-winded opinion short. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people are taking back what has come to be considered derogatory terms. So yeah, it's always good to clear it with the population you're talking about when you're talking to them.
Yeah, exactly. And, regardless of, because that's exactly true. I mean, the terminology changes, but even within each of the communities, the accepted terms are not accepted by everybody all the time. So yeah, sometimes it's almost scary talking to people because you don't want to offend them, but you don't know what to say. Yeah, it's.
But I think
skill.
Yeah, I would err on the side of they want to be talked to and listened to more than they want to have someone have the name correct on the first try.
Yeah,
that would be me. So I'm going to project that on someone else. Okay, so I have one question towards the end here on page 230 in my copy. There was an example of how Martha Beck makes a decision. So I wondered if that was a way you would recommend making decisions, because I find making decisions difficult, and I'm always looking for guiding lights. I am learning Zulu instead, because at this moment, that's what feels most like freedom, most like falling in love. I'll work like a pack mule to do something no one wants me to do, something I'm bad at, something impossible, if I feel my own North Star steering me in that direction. If I don't follow that star, no matter where it leads, I'll lose it. And that's just not an option. How do you feel about what feels most like freedom and feels like falling in love? And that's like how you sent the wind of where you're meant to go. What do you think?
For me, it's a combination. I have to be interested. I refuse to have guilt as a part of it, as in you have to do this, or you should do this.
Don't let someone shit all over you. That's a good tenet.
Yeah. It needs to resonate, and I need to see the long term, why am I doing this? So is it of benefit to me personally? Can I use this to help or enhance someone else's well-being or nature, what have you? For me, those decisions, I mean, I can sometimes get wishy-washy, and it may be hard. Like when I was deciding whether to go for my degree or not. Right? Yeah. I'd had my diploma in social service work. I could make a good career with that. I didn't need a degree in psychology. It would have meant a bit more pay, but it wasn't crucial to what I wanted to do in terms of work. And I've always learned if I ever do something for money, it's bound to be a boondoggle, get discombobulated.
Thank you.
And not work out. It is just never. If I take a job because I love the job, want to do something, then it always works out. And I've always had, thank you, universe, enough to cover what I need in my basics. So for me, it's about that gut feeling. What's the purpose? What's my motivation? Is it for the highest good and the highest healing? And here's the funny thing, and this may make you chuckle, and it comes up with the dream part because you mentioned I do too. Thank you, Rachel. She corrected me. She wants proper English. But it also comes in with the dreams that she talks about, and her system doesn't work for me. But I've actually made decisions to leave because I think a job is something you do for love. Work is what you do to pay the bills. So I've always had that distinction. And when the job became work, it was time to get out of Dodge. But not until I had the dream of clear water, clear, calm water. And every time I had that dream, I quit, and the next job was waiting. So for me, yeah, I know. And it's funny now listening to myself. I'm like, yeah, I get why people think I'm paranormal, spiritual, out there. As much as I try and think I'm grounded, I'm grounded. I just probably to other people sound like I'm
paranormal, the UFOs. You can still be grounded because, as a great Prince once said, there are more things in your philosophy than are dreamt of in your philosophy, I should say. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how it shakes out for me.
Yeah. We're talking about author versus writer, and JD said, yeah, I'll talk to a wall, but still have shy moments that always take people by surprise.
Yeah.
Dan's never heard of reading tea leaves, so you have that fun to look forward to.
Yeah, it's a skill. It's not one that I foresee myself. Well, and here's a funny, since I did tell you I'll embrace that whole paranormal side of me, just for giggles, because I saw it offered through one of these correspondence schools. Yes, I do have a certificate in parapsychology.
Ooh, tell us, what is parapsychology then?
Now, parapsychology is basically the study of all the woo-woo stuff.
Okay.
Some will say that it just has to do with ghosts and life after death. And there are scientists who do study this stuff. There's organizations, they're legit scientists with backgrounds in, science, neurology, all of this kind of stuff, who are looking seriously for answers. Now, this course that I took was a good chuckle, and I enjoyed it. It dealt with astrology, palmistry, numerology, which I need to talk to you about that, but we'll talk off screen. So yeah, palmistry, astrology, the I Ching, numerology, and there was one other topic. There were 5 different units, and I've loved all that stuff since I was a kid, because I was looking for answers because of crap that happened in my house, and whatever this energy was just bugged me. But my room was my safe zone. I've always had my guardian with me. So yeah. But yeah, it's funny because every once in a while, just for shits and giggles, I love saying to somebody, yeah, I've got a certificate in parapsychology. And they're like, what? But the best line I ever had, and the great thing about being visual is I can still see this jerk's face. So one of my jobs, just a sec, excuse me. Thank you. One of the jerks that I was working with was just being a jerk and bipping in my face, and, thought he'd be brilliant. And he's like, because I wouldn't give in to him. He wanted like a community pass or something, whatever he was bipping about. And he's like in my face barking away. And he's like, you're such a witch. And I'm like, what the hell does my spirituality have to do with this?
Yes.
Oh, Margaret.
Oh my God.
He stayed away from me for a week.
Lovely. You're like, mission accomplished.
It's good when you can scare a male offender just because you asked him, what's my spirituality got to do with it? And he went white. I'm like,
good clap back.
You really are a dumbass, but I'm not going to tell you I'm not, because that just worked.
Well done.
See, I'm a bad girl sometimes.
No arguments from me. So this is where we're going to get close to concluding here. So I'm going to go through poll questions and answers. And I have one more question for Elaine, and then we'll see if we have other questions from the audience while we do that. So let's see what I have starred. That was Marion's comment. We have Eva says several key moments. So this is when you're thinking drastically changed. Some I don't care to share, but the latest was the moment my husband got the answer wrong when I asked him what year it was. So when she verified if he'd had a stroke. And so that was like her mindset immediately switched. Yeah. Diane's answer says, Elaine, I noticed there's worksheets in the book or a separate book. Did you utilize them? I think this is for the...
Artist's Way.
Oh, Artist's Way. Okay.
Artist's Way.
Would you recommend the book as an audio if you know?
Yes. And funny thing is, it's one of the few audiobooks I've listened to.
You would recommend? Yeah.
Yeah. This is my second copy, because sadly I gave one copy to a dumbass who didn't like it and didn't return it. They just got rid of it. I've learned my books don't go out. But Diane, to answer your question, there are 2 other books that actually came in the anniversary set that I got. There's something for the daily morning pages, because she recommends 3 pages. 3 pages.
3 handwritten pages in the morning before you do anything else.
Yeah. And I did it the first time. I don't do it anymore, because I do my Life Is list instead. But the other book actually has summaries of each week with just the activities, which is great. But I didn't use her worksheets. I just started a separate journal to keep my own notes. And because I'm a book murderer, I have like a ton of notes in there, but I don't have them close by. I still have the just cards like this. And I did all my self-nourishing enjoy activities on one of those. And I still have them, and I have to go through that again because I didn't do every exercise as I did it. Each time I do a bit more, same as my Witch Alone 13 months, which that's gone off the rails too. It's okay because there's always a new moon coming and I'll start it again. So I've learned to be kind to myself.
Yeah. So just pointing out, the Instagram is where I have the calendar in case people are wondering which books are coming up and then which guests are on the weekly thing on the YouTube community posts.
Just another point, Artist Way, before I forget, and Diane, if you're listening, part of the reason the Artist Way, my voice is going, Margaret, I'm getting your thing after 2 hours.
My thing?
Excuse me, your thing. You were saying your voice wears out. But so the Artist Way, part of why it's gone off track is my plan is to read it all, do a 13-week series with videos on my channel as I work through it. So Diane, if you want to do that as a buddy work and you're on Voxer, I can find you and we can do a buddy work through the Artist Way. I'm not going to do the audio because I don't have Cameron's permission, but yeah, that would be cool. I'd love to be able to do that with someone else.
And then just revisiting Rachel's comment because it related to the poll question about a culture on time. Wisdom Sits in Places by Keith Basso is about the Western Apache approach to time. And this is one that changed Rachel's POV, which is very cool.
Yep.
And then JD chiming in, key moment when his grandfather died, when he almost drowned, when someone told me point blank I was too negative and I took it as constructive criticism. And when I hurt my back the first time.
Yep.
The whole final controlling everything is a real bummer sometimes.
Yep. Well, the thing is, it makes me mad. It's the only medical issue I have.
So that's good.
Yes. Yes, Margaret, it's good. It keeps me from work. But yes, it is, because the only reason I've seen the doctor is the stinking meds. I have literally, through COVID, everything else, not had to see a doctor for anything, cold, flu, whatever.
Yep.
It just the damn birth mother gift in my lumbar, bitch.
Right, so nice come back, the witch thing. Yep.
Thank you.
And just thanks.
Aw, you're welcome. I look forward to it. And I have to take that back about my birth mom. She's gone anyways. The nightmares now and again come back, but she's in the ether with my dad and the rest of them. But in hindsight, she inflicted everything before I was 3 years old. I had a whole life and working into my 50s, didn't hold me back. And I do actually have to thank her, because if not for that whole boondoggle and the spine, I wouldn't be here on the live stream now. See, I can always find a way to connect everything.
Okay, so in that spirit of connecting, was there any other book on the schedule for Agitation August that you saw and were like, oh my gosh, that's such a good book, or that you saw and went, oh, I really want to read that? So the calendar.
You got me, because I got to look at the calendar, but I am now curious about the book Brian read about the AI.
Empire.
I did reread 1984 last year. Scared the hell out of me when I first read it in 83. Wasn't good in 2024, and I like it less now. or well
scary.
beyond to something, that dude.
It was
And
scary.
there probably are others, and I will be going through it. I'm enjoying listening to the live streams and people's thoughts. So that's kind of my answer. Take care.
Thanks for being here. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. So if you haven't seen this yet, these are all the books. I put them on a little calendar graphic on Instagram. It's on my YouTube community tab as well. Tomorrow, next up is Rachel from RK Stumbling Bear, and she's going to talk about a sci-fi short story called The Year Without Sunshine. And it's going to be at 3 p.m. Pacific, so evening, dinner time for people on the East Coast. And I'm very excited about that one. She asked me a question or two, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to own up to something. So you'll see that tomorrow if you're around then. Otherwise, thank you very much for being here, for watching. Thank you to Elaine for recommending a book that I really enjoyed. Yay! And yeah, so lovely episode. Absolute treat. Glad you guys could be here. Murabeiko, what does that mean? Tell me. Fab discussion.
Ooh, here we go. It would be like, well, I'm not sure. It could be like namaste, which I love that. Honor the light within you.
Let's see if she can put the answer in. It means goodbye. Okay.
Here we go.
Kiruwanda. Perfect. So we got a little bit of knowledge at the end. Thank you.
Awesome.
Everybody. Take care of yourselves and happy reading.
Thanks for having